morning. Whew. How are we all? So I'm doing this live off the back of having completed last week the gratitude challenge, and it's funny because with those lives, and I'm doing them every day. You want to come up? Come on. Say hello. Come on. Hi. Come on. That's it. My work companion this morning. You pick your times, don't you? I'm actually grateful for the distraction for this live. Okay. I've got work to do. You want to get down? Good girl. And play later. So as I was saying, so I'm doing this live off the back of having done daily prepared lives every day last week. And for those ones, I do actually, sit down, actually jot out some of the things that I want to cover. Not word for word. All right. Drop. 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 And so for today, yesterday I was like, oh, will I do a live today, sort of feeling into it, and I wasn't really. But I did want to get a live done this week, and I've got some things on tomorrow. So I'm like, well, it's going to have to be today. And I was sort of going, all right, well, what am I feeling like talking about? And I had a few sort of topics come to mind. And then I was like, you know what? What's the most edgiest thing that I could do? And that's why the topic's called Edgy AF, because I'm jumping on this live literally with nothing prepared. And what's interesting is that compared to my nerves with doing a live when I have got a little bit of an idea about what I'm going to talk about versus right now where I've got no idea what I'm going to talk about, the nerves were substantially a lot higher. All right, shush. We go out. Hence why I'm more than happy to have Millie, my dog, distracting me right now. So I don't shy away from doing things that feel uncomfortable. It's like, well, worst case, what could possibly go wrong? Worst case, I jump on and I go blank, and I'll just look at you guys, the screen, for a couple of minutes, and then I'll apologize and get off. And no harm, right? I might come across as a bit of an idiot, but oh well, whatever. Judgments generally tell us more about the person making the judgment than the person that we're actually judging. So, yeah. So one thing that did pop into mind, because this morning I've caught up on my messages. One thing that I've become acutely aware of is all the different avenues that we have that we can be contacted on. Okay, so I had a missed call from a friend last night, so I called her back this morning, had a phone conversation with her. I was up to date on my text messages and didn't get any during the night, so that was good. My emails, mostly spam bits and pieces, so nothing too relevant there, but there was quite a few Facebook messages that were there. And then like I use WhatsApp as a messaging application on my phone. There was an Instagram comment that was made yesterday that I wanted to respond to. It's like there's all these different avenues of how people can contact you. And, quite often we're offline, like we're at work for the day, or maybe we're at the movies. Like there's big portions of time, hopefully, that we're not, on these devices constantly, responding to all the incoming. And so it's funny because like I have to schedule time to sit down and get back to people on all these different avenues. It's interesting. It's making me think it'd be nice to decrease the avenues, the way that people can contact us. But aside from shutting down all my social media accounts and throwing my phone away, I don't really have a resolution for that at the moment. But there's been something that's sort of playing in my mind, is like there's just all these constant different incomings, and it's all important. Like it's important to have that connection with people and be responding, and I love it. But there's this element of lie down. Go on. Go. There's this element of just constantly having to be in response mode. Good girl. Yeah, so it's interesting sort of feeling into that because, okay, so there's this thing called diffused awareness, and I came across that in a really awesome book that I highly recommend called The Queen's Code. It's targeted generally at women for how to have great relationships with men, and talks about the differences between men and women and how we think and communicate. But it's a great book. And in that it talks about women having what we call diffused awareness, and that is for women, and I know this to be true for myself, is that we're constantly always aware of all the things that need doing. So I can reel off my long to-do list at any given moment, and even the things that aren't on my list, like respond to the message on Instagram, respond to these emails, call these people back, all the handful of things that I've got set out that I want to get done today, constantly aware of what I've got on and booked this afternoon and tomorrow and the weekend. Okay, so at any one point in time, my mind is in 50, 20, 100 different places. And so by having so many different ways that people can contact us, it's like it's increased the avenues of all the different places that my mind can be at any one point in time. And that's exhausting. And I know particularly because I do a lot of work with women, and they'll agree. Like it's very full on, because we're constantly aware all of the time that everything needs doing. The other side to that is how I say that men think, and they're very one task focused. So, and I'm always very careful with when I say things that are specific to men and things that are specific to women, because I'm only got my perspective on that, and so that's very one-sided, and I don't like to generalize. However, from my experience and perspective, this seemingly feels correct and accurate, in that men will generally be one task focus at any one time. So they won't be thinking about tomorrow. They won't be thinking about what needs to be done in the next hour. It's just that one task and that one task only. It is interesting. And I'll have to do a survey to sort of see if that's the case for everyone else. Yeah, isn't that funny? I had no idea what I was going to get on and talk about, and I've ended up talking about that. How bizarre. So, yeah. The other thing, so with having this diffused awareness, and it's something that I'm very conscious of, is how present, or more so how not present I am very often when doing things. And so when I'm having a conversation with someone, I track where my thoughts go. And so it's the idea of listening to our listening. So am I listening 100% present, paying attention to what that person is saying? Or am I already listening and at the same time coming up with, ooh, how am I going to respond to this? How am I relating to what's being said? What does that mean to me? Or am I just focusing on what the person is saying and what that means to them? Or am I already here thinking about, well, what does this mean to me? How do I relate to that? Have I had that experience? What would be a nice response here? What do they want from me? So those sort of things. Or, and I'm very guilty of this, is that diffused awareness. Be thinking about, okay, what am I going to do when I get off this phone call? What have I got on today? What have I got to get done? Oh, I've got to book something for an event for next month. So that's when I'm not present at all. So the nice thing is that I'm very aware of when I'm doing that and can pull myself back in. Okay. Very aware of when I am totally present for the perspective of the person that I'm listening to, but also can often see when I'm jumping back into, well, I'm just listening to respond as opposed to just be listening and being totally present. It's a handy one because quite often we're not conscious of how we are doing our listening. And I can tell you now, it makes a big difference when we do shut off our diffused awareness, come back to now, and not even care about how we're going to respond, but just being totally present in what that person is communicating and how they want to connect with us, and what the thing is that they're talking about, how that is for them, because it's important for them or they wouldn't be talking about it in the first place, right? All right. Well, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm very pleased that you just never know. You just never know where this is going to go if I haven't actually come up with something. Because I did sort of have a backup idea about what I might talk about if nothing sort of came through, and I didn't need it. I didn't need it after all. So there you go. That's my edgy AF for this morning. Beautiful. All right. Well, thanks for listening. I have just shared a new blog post that I've done on my website this morning, so that I share that on my LinkedIn and I share that on the Facebook page, Andrea Martell Joy Scientist. So there's a link there, or you can just go straight to the website, andreamartell.com. And I've just done a post on a program, a training program that I did for the company that I worked for at the time 10 years ago. And it wasn't all that of a spectacular thing, other than it totally inspired me to get into the line of work that I now do. So it's kind of cool realizing that that was 10 years ago, and what I'm doing now. It's, yeah, it's cool. Excuse me. All right. with heart and soul. Have a fabulous day. And yeah, stay tuned.